I didn't object to anything about the role. The way they advertised it was the issue. Jane Russell's remark does not provide an explanation. It's a cut. Before viewers could learn who she was, they had to look at an enlarged portion of her body on posters that were displayed across theaters. This process was repeated until there was no more space. Her name came after, not before, that look. The character had vanished by the time The Outlaw was published. Instead, an exaggerated body on posters, forbidden pictures that were later restored to theater walls, and a narrative that was repeated so frequently that the movie itself was no longer needed spread. When a teenage actress entered Hollywood, her own image quickly took her place. Before there was an opportunity to prove anything, fame came. What was visible no longer belonged to her after that. Beneath that image was a life devoid of any room for simplicity, an abortion gone wrong that almost killed her and prevented her from ever having children, a marriage that lasted more than 20 years and ended with accusations that no one could call peaceful, and a career that repeatedly returned to the same frame regardless of that she sang, acted, produced, performed on stage, and attempted to regain control over her own life. If one is forced to reflect on Jane Russell, it is not to comprehend why she became an icon, but rather to comprehend what was stolen from her when she became one too soon. The sensation of being perceived in a way that did not belong to her started much earlier than when the lights came on Jane Russell. Her early years were quiet and unpretentious, but they had a significant impact on how she came into the world. Born on June 21, 1921, in Bemidji, Minnesota, Jane Russell, full name Ernestine Jane Geraldine Russell, came from a family of 4 boys whose roles were recognized without the need for words. Her mother was a touring stage actress, and her father was an Army lieutenant. These two seemingly distinct cultures coexisted in the same home, creating a foundation that was both performative and regimented. Her early years were not spent in a single location with music. The family briefly resided in Edmonton, Canada, before relocating to Southern California, where conditions steadily improved and the ideas of stage, lights, and audience started to take on more tangible significance. Art was a constant in that setting rather than an option. Her mother encouraged her daughter to pursue a career in theater from an early age by arranging for her to study the piano. Jane Russell participated in school plays at Van Nuys High School as a natural part of her environment rather than with the intention of becoming famous. In actuality, her initial dream was to become a designer rather than perform in front of a camera or on stage. This decision was more individualized, less reliant on other people's opinions, and less defined by them. However, that route was short-lived. Her father's passing when she was still a young girl did not result in a dramatic breakdown, but it did drastically change the family's internal structure. Every decision could no longer be made in the same way after the pillar vanished. Jane Russell started working as a receptionist and posing for photographers after graduating from high school. These actions were motivated by a very practical necessity to continue living in conditions that had changed rather than by a great plan. She started studying acting at Max Reinhardt's theater workshop and with teacher Maria Uspenskaya during this time. This was a gradual change as other options became less viable rather than a sudden leap into art. This is what counts. She didn't enter the film industry with the intention of pursuing stardom at all costs. Her entry into the industry was not motivated by a desire for fame, but rather by a series of survival-driven decisions that led to a glaring discrepancy between how the world would eventually perceive her and how she actually got there from the start. Alongside these shifts in conditions, another foundation was established early on and remained strong over time. The foundation for Jane Russell's religious life was established by her mother, who taught the Bible in addition to being active in the arts. Russell made a personal decision about her faith at the age of 6, which she would later remember with great clarity. It wasn't a communal ritual, but rather a particular moment that she could relive numerous times. From that point on, a second axis emerged alongside all of her career decisions: religious faith, which was quiet but persistent. No single significant incident stood out enough to be recounted as a definitive turning point. Everything was present at once. A family that sculpted through theatrical rhythm and military discipline, a void that emerged after her father's death, early occupations motivated by the necessity to support life, and a religious faith developed at a very young age. Before a camera was ever aimed at Jane Russell, it all moved together, unidentified and indivisible. No beginning point was reset when she arrived in Hollywood. The way she stood in front of others, how she made decisions, and how she maintained a piece of herself. Music. In places that did not belong to her were all things that had already been developed. The realm she entered had its own set of laws. Despite not being made to comply with those regulations, what she carried with her did not vanish. Jane Russell entered a room in 1940, read every word, and signed a 7-year contract with Howard Hughes. From then on, photo shoots started, clothing fittings were scheduled, and her itinerary was determined. She tested the illumination by standing in front of the camera turning in accordance with the direction, and maintaining her position in still frames. While the camera continued to shoot, others examined each picture to choose the best viewpoint. Before viewers ever saw her on TV, her name started to appear on production documents. The way she was perceived started to take precedence over her real actions after that. She was on the set of The Outlaw in 1941. Props were set up, cameras were framed, and costumes were ready. She entered situations, did as she was told, and repeated actions until they satisfied the requirements. Every scene was captured and put together into a finished film during the scheduled shooting days. The movie wasn't released right away once it was finished. It was postponed, revised, and awaited approval. It was given a small screening in 1943. It was eventually made commercially available in 1946. The movie did not vanish throughout that prolonged time, but it did leave a void in the music that something else started to fill. Jane Russell continued to take part in promotional picture shoots even though the movie had not yet reached the general public. With light focused on her upper torso, she posed in front of backdrops, maintained positions as needed, and had her frames trimmed and expanded. Newspapers were published, posters were created, and was displayed on billboards and in front of theaters. Before viewers could see the entire movie, those pictures were made public. The release was delayed due to censorship authorities' intervention and demands for changes. Before the role itself could be completely viewed, advertising photos continued to be utilized, duplicated, and disseminated, creating a stable image. A special design of a bra made at the producer's request was shown to her during the outfit preparation process. She tested it, but decided to wear something more appropriate for her instead of using it. She kept acting with that selection on set. Outside of the set, the tale of that design kept coming up in publications and newspapers. In reality, her actions ceased at the set. Without her presence, what was told kept moving. Her image was already well known to viewers when the movie was widely distributed in 1946. The posters had seen several times. Articles had already surfaced. Someone had mentioned her name. Her picture was reprinted, carried by soldiers, stored in wallets, or displayed in barracks throughout the conflict. Magazines kept using the same frame and position to publish her pictures. Jane Russell's name and a recurring image were printed all across the country, a picture that had gone farther than the actual movie. She made an appearance on screen in a previously taped role. Promotional pictures and music continued to be viewed and used off-screen. Despite existing in simultaneously, these two streams of music were not equally important. The finished video was on one side. The distribution of printed images was the other. Over time, the position in public memory was gradually replaced by the images, which appeared and were viewed more frequently. The character was no longer the first thing that came to mind when her name was stated, but rather the image that had been repeated long enough to become the default. The character has not yet had an opportunity to. It had already been replaced by the image. Every subsequent decision had to go via something that had already been established in advance. After the movie's premiere, the movement continued, but when young Widow made her appearance, it obviously changed course. Jane Russell took on a character that no longer depended on what viewers had previously seen. She had to be more reserved, cut back on things that used to elicit quick reactions, and change to a calmer, more subdued presence. Instead of positioning the body in the middle, the camera maintained its distance, allowing the content to function independently. After it was finished and released, an inevitable revelation was made. Approximately $600,000 more was spent than anticipated. The box office did not react as it used to. There was no momentum and no return of audiences. Outside, there was no interest in the music that was experimented with on screen. There was a pause because of a discrepancy between what was performed and what the crowd anticipated, not because of a lack of effort. A monetary loss was not the end of this moment. It revealed a working system. The reaction vanished along with the recognizable components. The part and the entirety of the footage were still present, but the audience connection was no longer as strong. An experiment was conducted, and the outcome was not about being right or incorrect, but rather about not being accepted in the same setting that had brought it initial fame. After leaving the show, she went into the recording studio to try something else with Kay Kaiser's ensemble. Her voice was captured on tape, played on the radio, and recorded. The working rhythm and the space changed, but the way she was perceived did not. The pull that the records produced was insufficient to force her to leave the position that already occupied. There was a change, but it didn't create a path. Jane Russell entered in 1948 on a very different path from what had just taken place. She actively maintained the rhythm of the entire scene, moving, reacting, cutting in at the appropriate moment, holding pauses perfectly, then pushing the situation farther, rather than standing within a frame that needed to be decreased or changed. There was no room for lingering gaps since everything happened swiftly and forcefully. Her presence